Vocational education. It's a topic that really splits the room. For some people, it's this brilliant, practical path to a fantastic career. But for others, it's a trap, a system that's actually designed to keep people in their place. So which one is it, a path or a trap? Let's get into it and see what the thinking is.
And this is really the core question we're trying to answer here. Is this a ladder that helps students climb up in the world, or is it more of a dead-end street, a one-way path with really limited options? It's a debate that honestly gets right to the heart of what we think our education system is even for.
All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the optimistic view. Then, we'll dive into the big criticisms. After that, we'll see what the actual research in the field says, and then we'll try to pull it all together for a balanced conclusion.
Okay, first up, let's start with the ideal scenario. This is the promise of vocational education, seen through the eyes of a group of thinkers called functionalists.
From this point of view, you got to think of society as this big, complicated machine. And for that machine to work, every single part needs to be doing its job correctly. Functionalists see vocational education as a totally essential gear in that machine. It makes sure the economy has all the skilled people it needs to keep humming along. So it's not just about individuals, it's about the good of the whole society.
So how exactly is this supposed to work? Well, the main idea is that education isn't just about learning stuff. It's about preparing people for their future roles. It helps sort students into the jobs where society needs them the most. And the end game, you get a super efficient economy where everybody has their place and feels like they're part of the team. Sounds pretty good, right?
But, and you knew there was a but coming, not everyone buys that rosy picture. Let's flip the coin and look at a totally different take. This is where we start asking the tough questions, like, is this system actually designed to divide us?
And wow, this slide just lays it all out there. The contrast is just stark. On one side, you have the functionalists talking about integration in a smooth society. On the other, you have the Marxists who see it as a mechanism for pure inequality. Their argument? This whole thing isn't about society's needs. It's about feeding the needs of capitalism by pushing working-class kids into working-class jobs.
So, how does that happen? How does the system do that channeling? Well, a really key concept here is something called the correspondence principle. It's a powerful idea, and it's pretty simple. School is basically a mirror of the workplace. It teaches you to show up on time, follow the rules, listen to the boss, the teacher, and just accept your place. It's the perfect training for being a compliant worker.
And this quote right here just sums up the entire Marxist argument in a nutshell. From their perspective, this system isn't broken at all. It's working perfectly, exactly as intended. It's a machine that makes sure there's always a steady supply of people for lower-paid jobs, and in doing so, it keeps class divides locked in generation after generation.
But it's not just about these huge economic structures. There's another critical theory, interactionism, that zooms way in, right into the classroom. It's all about the day-to-day human stuff, the power of labels, of stereotypes, and how they can literally shape a student's future.
And this is built on what's called labeling theory. The idea is, if a teacher looks at a group of students and thinks, okay, these are the practical kids, not the academic ones, they might start treating them differently, without even realizing it. And over time, students can start to believe that label themselves. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, putting a ceiling on what they think they can achieve.
Okay, so we've got the big theories. We have the optimistic functionalists squaring off against the critical Marxists and interactionists. But theories are one thing. What happens when researchers actually go out and study this in the real world? What does the evidence show?
Well, the findings are pretty sobering, and they do seem to lean towards the critical side. Research back in the 80s found that a lot of these training schemes were basically just a source of cheap labor. A major report concluded they completely failed to fix the deep inequalities they were supposed to. Even more recently, studies show that vocational qualifications were just undervalued compared to academic ones. And maybe most damning, other research found that for many working-class students, taking this route isn't really a free choice. It's a practical calculation, which just keeps that class structure firmly in place.
So, wow, the evidence seems to be piling up on the critical side, right? But is that the end of the story? Let's move on and try to find a more balanced, a more nuanced view by looking at some modern perspectives.
A much more recent perspective, postmodernism, kind of throws out those old rigid theories. Postmodernists look at our world today and they don't see one big, fixed structure. They see a fast-changing, fragmented landscape.
And from this point of view, vocational education might actually be a perfect fit for the modern economy. Why? Because it offers lots of different pathways, not just one single academic route. It focuses on flexible, adaptable skills. And it embraces this idea of lifelong learning, which is absolutely crucial in a world where the whole job for life thing is basically ancient history.
So let's lay it all out, the good and the bad, side by side. The strengths, they're obvious. You get practical skills, it helps the economy, and it provides a vital alternative for students who aren't on that traditional academic track. But the weaknesses are exactly what the critics have been shouting about. It's often seen as second best, it can lock in inequality, and it might be a dead end when it comes to higher education.
And all of this brings us to a more balanced conclusion. The potential for vocational education to be amazing is definitely there, but its success isn't guaranteed. It really all hangs on one crucial thing: value. Is it genuinely valued? By employers, by universities, by society as a whole?
This brings us to the most important phrase in this whole discussion: parity of esteem. It sounds a bit academic, but it's a powerful idea. All it means is equal respect. For vocational education to truly be a ladder to success, it has to be seen as just as respectable, just as valuable as the academic path. Without that, it will always risk being seen as the second-class option.
And that's why this debate isn't going away. So what is it? A functionalist tool for building a strong society? A Marxist machine for creating inequality? Or a postmodern reflection of our messy, diverse world? The truth is, it's probably a little bit of all three.
Ultimately, talking about all of this forces us to zoom out and ask a much bigger, much more critical question about education itself. Who is it really for? Are we designing our schools to help every single student flourish and find their own potential? Or are we designing them to churn out workers to fill the needs of the economy? It's a tough question, and one that's definitely worth thinking about.